Okay, it appears to be 9 o'clock, so let me bring to order this session of the December 7th, 2020 Pennington County Planning Commission. The recommendations of the Planning Commission on certain items from this agenda will be considered by the Board of Commissioners at their regular meeting on December 15th, 2020 at 10:30 a.m. And we do use speaker request forms, so if you think you want to speak on one of these issues, pick one up and see that it gets forwarded up here to the dais. Roll call.
Charlie,
Here.
Jim,
Here.
Ron,
Here.
Travis,
Here.
Kathy,
Here.
Sandy.
Here.
The minutes for the, what was it? The November 23rd, 2020 meeting. Any corrections, additions, subtractions?
Move to accept the minutes. Second.
Second, okay. We don't have anybody on Zoom, at least any members, so all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Approval of the agenda.
Move.
I move for approval.
Second.
Second. Okay. All those in favor of approving the agenda indicate by aye.
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 Same, opposed, same sign. The motion passes. The consent calendar, we will deal with this with one vote. There are only two items, and I understand the staff is going to pull one of these items, number 4. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I suppose we could have a motion to dispose of number 3 unless there's some question on it also. A motion to pass item number 3 on the consent calendar.
So move. Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right, item number 4, Jason.
Good morning, Commissioner. My name is Chutima Sabun, Planning Department. Staff would like to pull this item number 4 of the consent agenda to correct information. Under analysis D1, building permit 1997 COBP 0204 was originally approved for a 2-bedroom house with a deck. Therefore, the deck doesn't need a building permit.
Run that by me again. I just caught up with you with
Okay.
D1.
It's under analysis D1.
Correct?
The building permit in 1997 is actually approved for the deck, 2-bedroom house and a deck. In the staff report, I put it say
A deck.
without a deck.
Right.
So the correction
Okay.
is the deck doesn't need a building permit because it's already approved.
Thank you.
Isn't this being continued anyway?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
And today
I
Jennifer
see.
Berger is here. The applicant is here too.
She still has the right to talk.
But if it's going to be continued, then
Yes.
that would be a moot point.
Does Ms. Berger want to speak to this issue, or?
Would you like to?
Yeah, would you like to come up and speak to the issue? Give us your name and,
Okay. My name is Jennifer Berger. I have applied for a conditional use permit for a vacation home rental. The staff has, this conditional use permit was originally approved in June for a temporary permit and now is up for review. I have met the previous conditions that were set forth, and now upon some further review, the staff has found some additional items they would like me to address. As Chutima said, the deck was originally approved in the building permit, so that issue has been resolved. The other item on D1 is that the residence was approved for 2 bedrooms. I will be bringing this item to the Board of Commissioners as well, but it's my understanding that there have been 3 bedrooms in this residence from the time that it was constructed. The Department of Equalization has been collecting taxes on a 3-bedroom residence at this property since at least 2007. And while I appreciate that the building permit does say that it was to be built as a 2-bedroom residence, it's my understanding that the county has been aware that this property is a 3-bedroom residence for quite some time. And so I am requesting that I not need to get a building permit for the 3rd bedroom because I believe that's the county's error in not collecting that prior to this date. The wastewater treatment has been approved by the Department of Environmental and Natural Resources. It was approved in April for this size of residence. The county is disputing the size of my holding tanks, but I believe that they are correct because I have already obtained approval from the Department of Natural Resources for the size of the tanks for the size of the residence. So there just seems to be a misunderstanding there between the staff and the Department of Natural Resources. Item number 3, there is a carport on the adjoining property that I also own. It's my understanding that carport was not permitted, and so I understand that I may need to bring that up to code or bring that up to having been permitted. Item number 4 here states that one of the bedrooms in the cabin has a queen bed and a twin full bunk bed, which allows for 5 overnight occupants. The cabin is a 3-bedroom cabin. It's been approved for use by 6 occupants per night. The other bedrooms both have queen beds, so there's one bedroom with a queen bed, another bedroom with a queen bed, and then there is one bedroom that has the queen bed with the bunk bed combination. The vacation home rental ordinance states that children 5 and under are not counted as occupants. And the purpose of the bunk bed is to allow for families comfort in the cabin. A parent could sleep with the children in the bunk bed. For example, the bunk bed is, I think we could all agree, considered a children's sleeping space. And I do not intend to rent it to more than 6 people, but I would like to keep the bunk bed in the bedroom. So those are the items that I wanted to discuss today and bring to your attention. And I do appreciate my work with the staff and their thoroughness in examining this conditional use permit. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions, Ms. Berger?
My question would be, one of these state that a deck or a carport was built without a building permit, so did you own the property at that time, or was that a prior owner?
No, that was a prior owner. It's actually a small lot that's adjacent to this lot, but it does, the driveway and the parking, turns up to the side there, and so there is a carport that's accessible for the cabin. I did not own the property when the carport was built. I'm not for sure when the carport was built.
Right.
It's my assumption it was likely built at the same time as the cabin, but I can't locate any documents on that. I understand if the county needs a building permit for that structure, although Yeah, again, I didn't own it at the time it was constructed, and I don't have any
Brittany, I'm
information.
gonna address this to you. If they buy the property and the carport was there and they didn't, they bought it subsequent to it being built, I can understand probably have for them to get a building permit so that we got everything up to date, but would they be subject to penalties?
They would be. When you buy the property, you assume any of the violations that are on the property. That's why typically you see them in front of your board to request to waive those penalty fees, because our office doesn't have the authority to waive those fees, only the Board of Commissioners does. We do give them an avenue to get in front of the Board of Commissioners to request that.
How long has this property been a vacation home rental?
Couple of years that I'm aware of. It was reviewed by staff last year, so this is the first year's review of this. There was just a couple of things that came in front of, or a couple of things that came up during the review by Tutima with the on-site wastewater system. And just for clarification, our ordinance doesn't address children, but the state does consider them users of an on-site system, so they count them towards the number of people for the sizing.
So these items 1 through 5, I assume that those are things that the applicant can work through to resolve this?
Correct. That's why it's being continued. There's no like stoppage or anything of operation. It's just working through these to get them remedied.
Okay, thank
Can I
you.
ask a question before you leave? I was gonna ask Jatima, but is 6 months gonna be long enough if we have to get something in writing from the state on the thing, because it appears to be in error one way or the other, about the holding tanks and what's approved for the number of people and whatnot?
Yes, I believe so. I have spoken to the state, so usually they're pretty responsive within, a few business days.
So you can have it in writing to get it cleared for her?
Oh, absolutely. Within
Okay.
6 months, yes.
Because you hate to see these things come back again and then people get short memories, so,
Sure.
okay.
Brittany, and if this can be disposed of more quickly, I assume this could be brought before us earlier, than 6 months.
If the motion is to send it to a certain meeting, then that's the meeting that we typically have it on, just because of, public information. But like I said, we don't have any intention of, a stop work order or not being able to
Okay,
rent
yeah.
at this time. As the applicant has been willing, and we're working with our office, so.
All right, okay.
Well, I appreciate your work. This is very detailed work, answering all the questions, and see you put a lot of work into it. And good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the public or any questions from the commission on this issue? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept staff's recommendation for a 6-month continuance at this time, rather than a specific date.
Second.
So moved. Second. All those in favor indicate by aye.
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 Opposed? Item number 6. Or
Number
5,
five.
I'm sorry. Item number 5.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, item number 5 is tax increment district, or tax increment finance district number 5. This is a TIF that has been submitted by the city of Box Elder for the purpose of developing Liberty Plaza, which will consist of single-family and multifamily housing, commercial retail space, and the Liberty Center to include infrastructure such as new wells, street, and sanitary upgrades. The Liberty Center will replace the Pride Hangar and serve as Ellsworth Air Force Base's community center located within the city limits of Box Elder. This property is located near the intersection of North Ellsworth Road and Liberty Boulevard. That location is up on the screen. There is, the applicant is in the audience, and they will present and entertain any questions that you may have.
Brittany? So this is a question, or are we to make some kind of judgment at the end of this? Or Is that the purpose?
Yes, this board or this commission must make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. Under the state statute, a hearing has to be in front of the Planning Commission on tax increment finance districts. So it is in your purview to review, ask questions, and make that recommendation to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, thank you. Is there someone to speak for, yes, the TIF?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Toby Morris with Collier Securities, representing the city of Box Elder. I know it's been about a year since we've been before you before, with the city being the applicant. What I'd like to do is maybe just go through some of the technical side of the tax increment district, and then probably turn it over to Hanny to represent what I would say is probably one of the most amazing, unique public-private partnerships that we have coming with the anticipation of the Ellsworth expansion. The reason the city is making application to the county goes mainly directly related to the constitutional debt. Because tax increment districts, regardless if the city is not the borrower or the county is not the borrower, legislative audit still considers them, quote unquote, a debt that goes in as applies to the constitutional debt limit. Being that the city of Box Elder is probably 5% of the total valuation of what the county had, much like what we did last year, we really come to you as the big brother, need your help, and act as a conduit for that. The city still fully intends to look for what we would call accountability, verification of costs, so forth, but because of that constitutional debt, that's why we're here before you today. We have a lot of things going on in the TIF plan. In particular, I think the ones that are always drawing the attention is where is the money going? How is it being used? And you'll see within the plan itself on page, I'll just draw your attention to this. And Mr. Chair, I can get very detailed. I can go to the global. I know you guys are familiar with it, but I don't want to take that for granted by any means either. So if there's a question that comes up, just by all means, stop me. But what we looked at the most part was on page 17, the primary catalyst for this TIF is you'll see there's a line item on there in the public building, and that's the $2 million of that TIF that'll be used with the anticipation of leveraging grant funds into what will eventually be a large event community center for the Ellsworth community for the base, which has a projected cost of roughly that $10.6 million. We have some other infrastructure costs associated with that. What you won't see in here is you won't see developer fees, you won't see professional fees. We're strictly sticking to infrastructure costs, a $2 million cost associated with the building to leverage into grants, and then an imputed interest costs. So working with the auditor, with Cindy, have that all laid out. And maybe what I'll do right now, with your permission, Chair, is I'll turn it over to Hanny to really fully explain this project, because it's unique from the authority level to the city level to the private level of how everything's brought together on that. And then I can come back a little bit more on the
Yes,
technicalities.
that sounds fine. Yeah.
Toby, can I ask a question though before you do?
Yeah.
What sort of questions do you want directed at you versus Hanny? Do you want the specific ones in regards to the financing and the report here versus the structural and the development questions? What do you want me to? I have some questions. I'm not sure whether I want to direct them to Hanny or you.
Well, you can give all the hard ones to Hanny, and I'll take the layups.
All right.
That's a great answer, Toby.
Well, I don't know. I'm saying some of them, I'll let you know in advance. I mean, I'm just saying
We'll tag team
taxpayers
it.
worry about hard costs, out of pocket.
You bet. We'll tag team it in terms of the technical to the developer side, because it's a combination of both.
Okay.
Will that
Thank you.
be fair? All right. Maybe I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, members of the commission. My name is Hani Shafi with Dream Design, and we're the developer on this project. As Toby mentioned, this project is a property that was owned by the Ellsworth Authority, and it had originally some housing on the base from the 50s, and so there were some basements or footings that are still in the site, so we're going to do some cleanup. The Project is driven by a need to empty the Pride hangar and utilize it for the new B-21. And so this project will be anchored by approximately first phase of a community center for the base and for Box Elder and for the eastern side of Pennington County. That will include an indoor track and some fields, indoor fields. Those fields will, excuse me, will be utilized by the airmen for some certain certifications that they do currently at the Pride hangar. This facility will also be utilized for the honoring ceremonies for deployment and for welcoming back our servicemen who are coming back from service. The city of Box Elder does not really have a known, downtown district. Hopefully, this will be one of the areas that it will entice other people to come into the area. We have quite a few interested parties. Most of them that we approached are based on the need of the community. Those include healthcare, some retail, and some mental health institutions that will hopefully help with some of the needs on the base and some of the needs within that part of the community. The rest of the project will be mixed use, and it will include, as Toby mentioned, retail, mixed use buildings, and some affordable housing, some market rate housing, to really satisfy the needs within the community. The total project taxable value when it is completed is approximately a little over $100 million. Currently, the value of that piece of ground or the taxable value was actually at zero. So hopefully, with the speed of the development, we will pay off this stuff in a timely excuse me, in a very timely manner. I think in the package that you have, there are some pictures of the building. The building will be funded partially by the TIF, and the other part of it will be a grant from Department of Defense, a little over $6 million. The governor's office will be putting approximately $3 million. The $2 million is basically mainly for the structural component. The TIF actually also has some grading related to that building that is included within the infrastructure package. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. I realize I don't want to take a lot of your time, but if you have any questions, I'll be here to answer them. Thank you.
Questions?
So, Hanny, we've met and we've visited, and when that B-21 comes in, it's my understanding that this development is going to be able to sit there and facilitate a number of different items, one being housing, one being retail services, and really trying to identify Box Elder. As you said, right now, Box Elder does not have a downtown core. And this would create that downtown core, and I would expect that as the B-21 program starts moving in, that downtown core is going to be much more busier, and I really think it needs to be identified. And I appreciate the fact that this addresses a lot of those concerns. And I see a lot of different agencies and public entities and municipalities working together to put this together. I think some people think that the county's lending people money, which we're not. We're simply facilitating, serving as a conduit to work with the TIF, and that might be something that some folks just need to understand. It's not a loan. We have no risk in this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll be funding the TIF, through borrowing the money and through some financing of our own. So.
Other questions, Kathy?
Yep. Hanny, you mentioned affordable housing, some of the housing that's going to be surrounding the center and so on. How is that going to become, how are you going to make that affordable, so to speak? I mean, I know that the infrastructure being paid for through the TIF will help, but Is there anything else that's envisioned to ensure the affordability of the housing?
The affordability of the housing will be through rental. You know, we're going to have a lot of rental property in there. There is going to be approximately, you know, a lot of the folks who come into the service in that area that join the Air Force Base, they have allocated funds to really rent, and they have to be within a certain distance of the Air Force Base. There is not much rental other than the base housing that is really close to the base. So one of the components that we'll be doing is approximately 200 townhomes that will be within or less than that range that the GIs get from the base.
I see, okay.
So to make it really affordable and still get them within a close distance to the base so they could fulfill their duties as needed and still be within the price range, if not less than what is allocated for that
Okay,
cost.
very good.
Who would be the owner?
Those townhomes, we are actually partnering with another developer to develop those.
I see.
Yes. But it will be privately owned, so it could create taxes. It will not be a
I
nonprofit
understand.
ownership. Yeah, so we could generate taxes.
Kathy?
So the answer to my question might be in the text here, but I just haven't gotten to it. What's the interest rate that you're assuming for the financing when you do the calculations?
We actually had, I think, 5% at the beginning, but I see Toby changed that to about 3.8%, you know, or so. So
3.8% for
yeah,
the
which is really
duration?
cheap, but you know, we're having a whole package, so I really did not want to come in and change the number, so we'll just stick with what is in there, so we could, because there is time limitations on the grant, and I appreciate you folks fitting us in this timely manner, because we really need to get the TIF approved so we could comply with the grant requirements. So I just left the numbers that he adjusted. They're a little bit less for financing than what I calculated, but it's fine. It's a couple of $100,000 less.
I see, okay.
Other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Honey, as I understand, there will be made available to the base certain advantages for classrooms and meeting rooms that aren't current because they don't have a facility really to do this on our base. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how is that going to be so that it's advantageous to them, I assume, financially through the city or something?
It's really, you know, like when you think about it, when the kids of the servicemen or families utilize facilities that are within the base, they sometimes bring their friends with them. And it creates some security issues, so it creates bigger lines and, you know, so having this facility on the outside instead of within the boundaries of the base, lessen that burden on the base itself and on the families of the servicemen and their friends. That's one thing. Number two, the facility will be a lot better than what is currently at the Pride Hangar, providing other services to the servicemen and their families. We are actually in preliminary discussions with Monument Health so they can have actually a facility right next to or within that building. You know, so that way they could deliver services to Box Elder, to the servicemen, and to that part of the county. I hope that answers.
Thank you. And then a little expansion on Catherine's question. When you borrow these funds, I assume it's from some sort of lending institution. If we were a county road district, this is the easiest way for me to explain this question, and we borrowed some money, the lending institution has certain tax advantages to lending us the money. Does that fall through by doing a TIF? Does that carry on through to the sort of financing you have to do?
Not really, no. I just have to personally guarantee the TIF.
Okay, that's it. They don't get an advantage where they, like, usually like for a road district, it'd be nice if the government would set it up that way. They get about half of the interest that they charge us as a credit, so it's very financially advantageous for them, and they hold their interest down because of that, certainly.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last thing is, Commissioner Roskinek kind of alluded to it. When you look at these things, and you've been involved with a lot of them, so you're probably one of the local experts, but wouldn't want to be on these things because they'd be calling you all the time. Hard costs out of the pocket. That's the very first thing that comes out of this taxpayers, the citizens' thoughts here. If a TIF is performing, or even in the realm of performing, as it was originally approved and spelled out, there are very few, if any, hard costs out of the pocket, in this case to the county. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
The question, Travis?
Hanny, thank you. Great presentation. I like it, especially since I'm retired out of Ellsworth. So, and I've been in the Pride Hangar many a times, and so this is kind of neat. The question I have focuses on that building. Who's going to maintain control of that building once it's done? Is it going to be the Air Force? Is it the community?
It's the community and led by, like the Ellsworth Authority and the city of Box Elder.
Okay. Is it going to be open 24/7, or is
I
it?
honestly don't know that.
Oh, you don't know those details
I
about it.
don't know that detail.
Okay, fair enough.
But most likely there will be some aspects that will be accessible most likely by the servicemen 24/7 with special card or special access codes.
And then probably they'll put notifications if the Air Force is going to close it down for Air Force use, such as returning airmen from deployments or commander's calls or things of that nature.
Yes, sir. And there is actually in the front of the building, there is a plaza that will be also for outdoor ceremonies in case that they decide to do some outdoor ceremonies too, combined with the indoor facilities.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Charlie?
I've got one for Toby. Thank you, honey.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, honey.
Yes, mine's easy. If you look to page 22 in your submittal that you've got a clerical error, and I didn't want you to continue to submit it with that. On line 102 and 103, you've got one lump sum, $5,000, and then if you look, you see it's extended into other months. I assume the amount to the right is the correct one because that's what would balance out with your proposal, and that the 5,000s must be an error.
Okay, thank you for that. Must be the quantity factor where it should be.
Right, something's
Okay,
amok there, and I would want you to send it out.
great eye for detail. Appreciate it.
Other questions of, all right.
I'm just going to make a comment. I think this is going to be a great development, and timing couldn't be more better. So appreciate everybody taking the effort to work on it and put it together, make it reality.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience would like to speak to this issue before we make a motion? Thank you, Toby. Do we have a motion?
I move for approval.
Second.
Second, moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate with aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The motion passes.
Wow.
Number 7.
And there goes the room.
Chutima Sabun Planning Department. This item is conditional use permit review CU 1904. To review the transfer of vacation home rental in suburban residential district. The applicants are Michael and Soraya. Michael and Soraya Palin. The local contact is Patrick Coppens. The applicant's agent, Jim Peterson, is here in the audience if you have any questions for him. This conditional use permit was approved last year on April 22nd, 2019. The subject property is 1.61 acres, zone suburban residential district. The access is off of Danube Lane. It is not in special flood hazard area. It consists of a single family resident. On October On October 30th, 2020, Dean and Patricia Fa, the current owners, notified the planning department in writing about the VHR transfer. Michael and Soraya Palin provided the required document for the VHR transfer, and verified that all conditions of April 22nd, 2019 approval are being met. Staff recommends approval of the transfer of conditional use permit CU 1904 with conditions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pellin is on Zoom up there, I guess that's the
That's
man.
Peterson.
Oh, that's
That's
Jim
Jim
Peterson. Oh,
Peterson.
yeah, okay. So, Mr. Peterson, and is there somebody else that's virtual? No, okay. So, any questions regarding this issue?
You know, this is pretty self-explanatory. Idleways Mountains, predominantly vacation home rentals. I mean, it was built in 1972, basically for vacation home rentals, so I don't have a problem with the transfer. That being said, I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve this application. All those in favor indicate, well, is there anyone else out there in case would like to make a comment on this issue before we dispose of it? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Number 7 now.
Good morning, Stephanie Jansen, Planning Department. Item 7 is conditional use permit CU 7104 for David Allard to review an existing mobile home park. The property is located at 12350 West Highway 44. It is zoned General Commercial District with 3.11 acres and access off of West Highway 44. As it sits today, lots 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 contain a single-wide mobile home, a shed, and a carport. Lot 2 contains a single-wide mobile home and a carport, and Lot 7 contains a single-wide mobile home, a deck addition to the single-wide mobile home, an attached garage, a shed, and a carport. On November 16th, 2020, staff performed a site visit to the subject property and noticed that some conditions for the mobile home park were not being met, and there were multiple violations on the property. On November 30th, 2020, Mr. Allard came into the planning department to apply for proper permits and addressed all issues besides the boat, which will require more time. Mr. Allard has decided to have his pontoon structure licensed with the state as a boat. On December 2nd, 2020, Mr. Allard sent an email to staff stating that he intends on licensing the boat with the state, that he will not rent this boat without the proper county and state requirements needed to do so, and will work with staff to figure out a safe location for the boat. Staff recommends to continue the review of conditional use permit CU 7104 to the December 21st, 2020 Planning Commission meeting to allow the applicant time to bring the property into compliance with the following one condition: that if the property is not brought into compliance by December 16th, 2020, then the conditional use permit will end and be turned over to State's Attorney's Office.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I spoke with Dave Allard over the weekend. It's kind of an unusual situation. He's got a pontoon sitting down by the creek, and leave it to Dave to try to rent it out. But he assured me that I think this is the last issue that he's trying to take care of. And
Correct.
he's going to literally just pick it up and move it. So I think that once that's done, they should be have most of the violations cured.
Well, it depends. If he moves it to another property, it may be a violation on another property. If you were to gut out.
He just indicated that he wanted to put it to bed and take care of the issues, so.
Sure. If he takes care of it, then he'll be good.
I would go ahead and approve the continuance, give him time to do so.
I'm just kind of curious. Why is he wanting to register it as a boat?
Point of order, you've got to ask for a second. He was,
Oh, did you make a
I assume
motion?
you're removing.
We're asking for continuance, right?
Right.
Yeah, did you make a motion?
but,
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what it sounded like you wanted to
For
do.
discussion,
Okay.
so,
It'll still be for discussion if it's second.
right.
Okay. The question is, why did he want to register it as a boat? I don't quite get that. Is he gonna put it in the creek?
He considers it a boat because he says it's navigable on the river. It just needs to be addressed, whether it needs a building permit.
So if it's registered as a boat, it can't be used as a, you know,
Correct. Yeah, and that's why
living
we had
quarters? Is that the
correct.
idea?
And that's why we had him write in writing that he wouldn't rent out the boat and that he is going to pursue the licensing of the boat.
Okay. Well, I was curious. I thought, anyway.
My guess is if you license the boat, you can take a boat, it's personal property, and you can park a boat down by a creek to park it. And so he might, under the pretense, I'm gonna license this pontoon. And now it's,
Yeah, I thought about that too.
now it's okay to park
Yeah,
by the
yeah,
creek, so.
yeah, I don't know.
Another technique.
Well, but he's fully aware of the circumstances and
Correct.
seems
We've
to
been in
be
communication.
what Ross indicated. He's willing to solve these problems, which don't seem insuperable, any of them. So,
Mr. Chairman.
okay,
Go ahead.
Travis.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Looks like it was sent Wednesday, December 2nd. Here's Mr. Allard's email or whatever the devil it is. It says, my intention is to license a boat with proper title registration within the next few days. I will not rent this boat without proper and state needed to do so. Then he goes on to say, as for placement, we'll believe it is in a secure and safe location. I don't think Mr. Allard's quit thinking, staying exactly where the heck he's at from what he's writing here is what I'm saying. License or not, if he can get the license. If you can license a bunch of sticks, and that's what we're talking about, is a pile of boards you put together and call it a pontoon boat that has a workable toilet or whatever in its situation, that, and you're going to put it on Rapid Creek, or what are you going to put it on? You know, first off, it's a little big for Rapid Creek at his point in the process. I'm suggesting this whole thing's getting to the point of absurdity. Either he takes care of it now and gets it handled. We don't wait around for license. For heaven's sakes, he's allowed to say, I've got a whole list of 12 or 13 requirements to get this thing up to snuff so that I can park it in my driveway. And then he decides the driveway isn't the spot, the backyard's the spot for it. So we need to take care of this now, not what Mr. Allard needs for time now to get it right.
I agree. And that's why in the conditions it says that everything needs to be addressed by December 16th or it will end. And he knows that.
Yeah, he has every plan to remove whatever it is from wherever it is, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Travis.
I just have a question. Is there any capabilities for him to, if he gets a license as a boat, for him to rent it out as a boat for a Airbnb or whatever he's doing?
No,
I'm just asking that question for that reason.
Right. So technically you can't have a VHR in the floodway. And we had him write in writing that he wouldn't rent it out for that very reason.
Okay.
Because it cannot be.
So he can't do a runaround and get a license as a boat and then put it in the water and say, well, I'm renting out as an Airbnb on the water.
No.
You know, there's a lot of things involved here. Drawing water off the creek without a license or permit, and I know it's all done up and down there. You know that. They water their lawns with it. That's still not correct. That's not the proper procedure. And doing things along the, to enhance your shoreline and this sort of thing, that's done continually up there. All these things are involved, and when we let that sort of thing continue, and now we're going to run it through the system, we need to put an end to that and just say, here, and we don't want to see the boat back on. The boat belongs somewhere else. Put it in Pactola. I mean, I think you got to put your foot down at some point and say that isn't part of what was originally a mobile home park. That's
other
where
comments?
it all came from.
Okay, we have a motion, and we started with, do we have a motion to continue this?
I made the motion to continue.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Excuse me.
Opposed?
I got a question on continue. That isn't the staff recommendation, is it?
Yes.
Continue it to the next meeting, December 21st, 2020. And then,
Specific, you're right. We're following staff. That was my question. Are we following staff's recommendation or are we just
I
continuing?
believe that's what staff recommended, was to
Yeah.
continue this, to
Correct.
give him time to get this off the property, which he said he would yesterday.
Yeah.
And then they would pursue actions if he didn't
Correct.
do what he needed to
Well,
do.
but I didn't hear that in the motion. What I'm saying
Well,
is
it
I just
probably
heard a
wasn't in
motion
the
to
motion,
continue.
so let's rephrase it by saying that he will, we will continue this until the next
Staff's
meeting, which is,
The 21st,
21st?
2 o'clock.
Correct. No, 2 o'clock.
No.
What time?
Yeah, the 21st date.
Okay. Do we have a second to that motion?
I have a second.
I seconded it, and it's the
Okay.
same wording except changing that the time's in there. I'm okay with that. I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor indicate with an eye.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. 8.
Okay, item number 8 is minor plat MPL 2039 for Ray and Elizabeth Strand with Fifth Land Surveying as the agent to combine 2 lots to create Lot 5RA, Block 2 of Hart Ranch West Number 1. Both lots are zoned Plan Unit Development. Existing Lot 5R contains 26.51 acres and existing Lot 4RA contains 16.77 acres. It is located within the Lowland Road District. There is no special flood hazard area. Lot 5R contains 2 barns, a carport, and a single-family residence with attached garage. Lot 4RA is vacant. There is a section line that runs through both lots, but that has been vacated as well. The proposed Lot 5RA will contain 43.26 acres. After routing the minor plat proposal for comment, staff received comments from Emergency Services and the addressing coordinator, recommending to post the address at the intersection of Arabian Drive and Hart Ranch Road because the current placement may be hard to find. This was added as a condition of approval. Staff finds no significant issues with the applicant's request as it appears to be in harmony with existing lots and current land uses in the area. Staff recommends approval of minor plat MPL 2039 with conditions.
Comments? Questions? Anyone in the audience wish to address this issue? A motion?
I'll move approval of the minor plat 20-39 with 7 conditions.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed, same sign?
Morning, Commissioners. Jason Fennison, County Planner. Agenda item number 9 is conditional use permit 20-29. The applicant is Jeff Jamison. He is in the audience if you have any questions for him. And he has applied for conditional use permit 20-29 to allow an existing residence to be used as a guest house on the subject property. Conditional use is decided under Pennington County zoning ordinance, section 510 must meet the following 7 criteria. There on the screen for your consideration, I'll read staff's responses starting with number 1. The proposed use for the single-family residence as a guest house should not endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. Number 2, the proposed use should not affect the values and enjoyment of other properties in the immediate vicinity. Number 3, the proposed use should not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. Number 4, utilities, access, roads, drainage, and other necessary site improvements appear to be provided. Number 5, a means of ingress and egress appear to be designed to minimize traffic congestion on the public streets. Number 6, it appears the requested use will conform to the applicable regulations of a limited agriculture district. And lastly, number 7, future land use of the subject property is identified as rural residential district. The requested conditional use appears to be consistent with the county comprehensive plan. As the property sits today, it is zoned limited agriculture district, 3.5 acres, has a 24 by 24 guest house with attached garage and an on-site wastewater treatment system. The request was sent out for interdepartmental review and we received no objections noted from anyone that we routed it out to. Staff's analysis of the request is on August of this year. The Board of Commissioners approved layout plan 20-17 to combine 4 existing lots in order to create 1 lot, Lot 15R of Oak Meadows Estates, with conditions. If approved, this conditional use permit will satisfy condition number 7 of that layout plan. The existing guest house, as it sits today, utilities are not connected to the primary residence as it was an existing single-family residence to begin with. And guest houses are regulated under Pennington County zoning ordinance, and the applicant's request appears to meet the requirements of section 318. And staff has received no complaints regarding this request and therefore recommends approval of conditional use permit 20-29 with conditions.
Thank you, Jason. Comments?
Jason?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman? We've got it in our conditions on page 9 to 9. Number 5 refers to the wastewater treatment that already exists for this guest house. Just a thought, should we be, for the protection of the landowner here, who could change down the road, be doing something the same with, since the utilities are also separate? And that's normally a requirement, both of those that would tie back to the house. I mean, should we add something so that their utilities are covered too, that we realize we're going to leave them separate?
Bless you.
Yeah, so typically guest houses are connected and metered
Right.
from the primary residence on the property, but this is kind of a unique situation where there are two.
Well, and I
existing-
see we refer to the wastewater treatment, but we don't do anything with the utilities in the conditions to note that for future, you might not be around, I might not be around, might have a new property owner that it was already this way when it was approved.
Mm-hmm.
I'm suggesting, I think we should, is what I'm saying, that the utilities, a condition that the existing utilities as of this date that apply to this guest house remain or be allowed to remain.
To remain separate from the,
Yes.
the primary residence? Okay.
But, Mr. Chairman, I guess, Charlie, I don't really understand that because, I mean, there's nothing in the ordinance that would make that a problem. If for whatever reason they decided to meter them out of the main house and just extend them there, that's no problem. There's no issue, is it?
Probably an issue of cost and,
Well, I know, but
time
I mean, in
to
terms of
happen.
the ordinance, there's no,
oh, no, not in terms of the
yeah,
the
so why do
ordinance,
why would we care what they decide to do with their utilities? Because there's no ordinance that addresses that. And this is the way it happens to be, but in the future, if it changes, so what?
It does address it. We require the guest house to be attached to
Don't.
the, do we not?
So I can bring up the ordinance if you'd like. I
Right.
believe it says if the utility company requires it, then they would have to do that.
If the utility company requires
That's
it.
correct. Yep.
Okay. Okay. I thought that was something they changed because we didn't used to, somewhere in the years I've been gone.
Mhm.
And I assumed that when you had a reference to it in your instructions here. Number 11, all public water, sewer, electricity, natural gas, et cetera, shall be extended from the primary dwelling unit services. No separate meters for the guest house shall be allowed. That's number 11. That's why I brought it up.
I believe there's more to that reference in the zoning ordinance.
That was the only reason I thought we should add it for the property owners' protection, that at the time we approved this, it was already there. Now, so I guess I would say if we don't need it, if it's not part of the ordinance, that's fine. If it is, then we should add it. Just for we're requiring them to go back and with the register of deeds and note the guest house on the, we don't mess around on these things. So I'm trying to say we got to give them some protection here if the utilities are already there. That's an expensive item to change the services.
Yeah. Are you? Yeah.
Are you looking it up, Jason?
I was
to
going to
help
find that
us here,
reference, yep.
if you could.
It's 318, I believe.
If we don't need to, if it's not part of the ordinance, that's fine with me. If we do by this number 11, then I think we should do something in the way of a condition, since we've already done that with the wastewater treatment. I'll leave it that way.
Yeah, so it says no separate meters for the guest house shall be allowed unless required by the utility service provider.
Well, we've got separate meters.
Right.
Just like your comment said, we're already separate metered. So
Right, and
I
like I
think
said, this
we
is
ought to
a-
have a condition here that says these conditions existed when we approved this.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand, yeah. I mean, you have a point. I appreciate that.
You making a,
Oh, all right. Well, we can't put
Sure.
it, it'll be one of the numbers. It's, follow me, I would put it right after number 5, which would then change the numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10. So let's do it number 6, that the existing utility this, what would you call it up? What'd you start out with calling this?
The guest homes.
Guest house.
Guest house.
Already has existing utilities, services prior to the approval of this conditional use permit.
are you the,
I'm Jeff Jameson, I'm the landowner.
oh, okay.
Come on.
Yeah, come up, Mr. Jameson.
I
Sorry.
don't want to disagree with Jason, but I only have 1 meter.
That's on your house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then we don't need a,
So it's only the on-site wastewater that's separate.
But, and then we have 2 cisterns.
So the electric meter is the same, the on-site wastewater treatment.
case out, because we've already referred to the wastewater treatment, so I think he's covered there.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Charlie. A motion for this?
I move approval.
Comments,
I second.
second, okay. All those in favor indicate, who made the motion?
Yeah,
Me.
okay.
Okay, Travis. All those in favor indicate by aye.
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 Same sign. Number 10.
All right, sir. Agenda item number 10 is layout plan 20-41. The applicant is Corey Brown. The agent and surveyor is Fisk Land Surveying. Janelle is in the audience if you have any questions for her. The applicant has requested layout plan 20-41 in order to reconfigure interior lot lines and create tract 17R and tract 78R of Rushmore Ranch Estates. As the properties sit today, existing is on top of your screen here and proposed is down below. Tract 17 is the smaller on the left. Zone planned unit development currently consists of 5.75 acres. Access is off Rushmore Ranch Road via 2 existing approaches. Does contain a 66-foot wide platted access easement. There's no special flood hazard area on the property. It has a single-family residence, an on-site wastewater treatment system, and a 12-by-24 shed. Tract 78 is the larger to the right. It is also zone planned unit development consisting of 22.12 acres, which is currently platted, but it does appear that the platted acreage is incorrect based on the survey and staff's analysis of the property. Roughly, we calculated to be 17 and a half acres.
Yeah.
The surveyor did note that as well. It is vacant of any structures or utilities. Access is off of Rushmore Ranch Road via existing approach and 66-foot wide platted access easement. There is no special flood hazard area on the property. And again, the proposed lots are down below. Tract 17R will be planned unit development, will decrease to 5.18 acres. Access will continue to be off of Rushmore Ranch Road, no special flood hazard area. We'll also have the single-family residence on-site wastewater treatment system and the 12-by-24 shed. Tract 78 will continue to be planned unit development, will be 18.43 acres. Vacant of any structures, access will be off of Rushmore Ranch Road via existing approach. The 66-foot wide platted access easement will go away. There's no special flood hazard area on the proposed property. The request was sent out for an interdepartmental review. Department of Equalization noted the acreage disparity on Tract 78. And again, staff verified with the surveyor that the proposed acreage is correct based on the parcel dimensions. And the Register of Deeds also had an issue with the plat heading, stating that the formerly needs to say tract instead of lot before 17 and 78. Staff's analysis of the request is that the creation of the proposed tracts appears to create a means of legal access to Tract 78 from Rushmore Ranch Road, and also to vacate a platted 66-foot wide access easement currently in use for that purpose. The reconfiguration of lot lines does not appear to increase density on Rushmore Ranch Road. The proposed tracts do not appear to reduce the size of existing tracts below the 3-acre minimum lot size of Rushmore Ranch Estates planned unit development. The utility and minor drainage easement statement should be corrected to say 8 feet instead of 8. And with that, staff finds no significant issues with the applicant's request as it appears to be in harmony with existing lots and current land uses in the area, and staff recommends approval of layout plan 20-41 with conditions.
Questions?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve, a
Second
second?
that.
Second? All those in favor indicate with an aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. For 11, I guess.
11.
11, yeah.
Good morning, Cody Sack and Planning Department. Item number 11 is minor plan unit development amendment PU 20-05. It's to amend an existing plan unit development to allow for a swimming pool to be located in a front yard setback. The applicant is Ben Morganfield of Splash City. The owners are Brian and Melissa Bowers. Currently, as the property sits, it's zoned plan unit development with 2 acres. There's no special flood hazard area on the property. There's a single-family residence with an on-site wastewater treatment system and a detached garage. This was routed around for interdepartment comments. There were no concerns received about this request. The applicant, Ben Morganfield, applied for a building permit to place an in-ground pool on the subject property. During the building permit review process, it was discovered that the pool would be placed in a front yard setback, which section 307 F1B of the Pennington County zoning ordinance states no swimming pool or part thereof excluding aprons, walks, and equipment rooms shall be protrude into any required front or side yard. It would require a variance in any other zoning, but since it's a planned unit development, it requires a amendment. Staff has not received any complaints regarding the applicant's request, so staff does recommend approval of minor planned unit development with 19 conditions.
Comments, questions?
So one thing, conditions 15 and 16 were from the original planned unit development. Those can actually be taken out, so there would only be 17 conditions.
I move for approval with the 17 conditions.
Second.
All those, it's been moved and seconded to approve with the exception of the 2 that are being removed with 17 conditions. Those in favor indicate with aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. 12.
Item 12 is layout plan LPL 20-38. It's to subdivide and create lots 3RA and 3RB of Block 2 of Dead Brook subdivision. The applicants and owner are Randy and Peggy Sogi. The agent is Fist Land Surveying. Janelle is in the audience if there's any questions. Currently, as the property sits, it is zoned low-density residential. It's 8.63 acres. There is floodway and 100-year floodplain on the subject property. There's a single-family residence with an on-site wastewater treatment system. They are current on their operating permit. The proposed lots, Lot 3RA will be zoned low-density residential district. It'll be 5.83 acres. They will have the single-family residence on the property. And there will be floodway and special flood hazard area, the 100-year floodplain on the property. Lot 3RB will be zoned low-density residential with it'll be 3 acres with floodway and 100-year floodplain on the property. This was routed around for comments. There were no major comments back. Register of Deeds said the certificates appeared to be the required certificates per state statute, and the county flood manager would like to have the minor plat contain the 100-year floodplain limits and the firm panel. The current zoning of the subject property is low-density residential, which requires a 3-acre lot size. The proposed lots will be over that 3-acre lot size, so a rezone will not be required. It does appear to be in harmony with the surrounding zoning and land uses of the area. And for the purposes of the layout plan, staff finds no significant issues with the applicant's request. And it appears in harmony, so staff recommends approval of layout plan LPL 2038 with 13 conditions.
I got one question. Access, is that gonna be a shared access, or they're gonna be an approach off of Dead Brook Street for each one of those two lots?
I am not sure it's in the Dead Brook Road District, and they didn't have any comments for us, so it'd be whatever they require. If they allow a secondary approach, then a secondary approach can be added. As for if there's going to be a shared access, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's involvement or not. No, there will not be. So it'll be two approaches.
Okay.
Cody,
Other comments?
excuse me. It's okay, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman? Thank you. Cody, normally, and maybe it's just because it's on the preliminary plats, but normally there's some shadowing showing and I see this according to one of your reports, request for comment, that there's a special flood zone area and a regulatory floodway on the property. Usually the pictures or the layout usually have something dovetailed in there for us, and this I didn't find any. Does it go through both lots, and how does it go through both lots?
It will. I believe it's this line right here. It's hard to read, but this line's the 100-year. It does show on the.
So it's only a small portion of the new 3RB.
Correct. Yes.
That's what I was wondering, how much it affected the building area in 3RB was my concern, especially seeing that it was a special flood.
So the second map that you would receive, the plot plan.
Yeah.
It shows down in the left-hand corner. It shows the flood hazard area rapid map. It shows that line through there. That dotted line.
I see that now. I missed that. Thank you. Just so I assume it's then the other line is the one just above that then.
This one above it right here.
Well, it can't. I'm assuming it's wider than the line. Follow me. You've got a line there that points to, and then it goes through there and does a little wowie and heads on up. But there must be a northern line too. That I would assume is the southern line, or is that the center line? Maybe Janelle, could you tell me? Just for an old geezer that can't figure it out.
Okay, let's see. Northern line of the flood limits.
Okay.
This is Spring Creek, this little ziggy-zaggy thing.
Oh, all right. So that includes that whole flood hazard area, the firm number.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, everything between
You helped me
this
a whole
line
bunch.
here and this line here is all 100-year flood.
All right. Thank you. So my assumption is correct then that it does not involve much of 3R, your new 3R.
No, just that little tiny triangular piece in the northwest corner.
I just saw that as it affects building, and these people run into it when they go to build after we approve these things. They haven't got this room or that room, or they can fit the house, but they can't fit the garage. And in this case, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Thank you.
Question?
I move for approval.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. 13.
Okay. Item 13 is layout plan LPL 20-40. It's to reconfigure lot lines and creates lot 1 and 2 of Russell subdivision. The applicant is Dale and Luann Russell. Currently, it involves 5 properties. 4 of the properties are under 1 acre, zone suburban residential. They're vacant of any structures, and they are in the floodway. The 5th parcel is zone suburban residential. It's 3.8 acres. It has 2 single-family residents on the property that were built in 1920 and 1928. 2 detached garages, and then an attached garage with a guest cottage. So the proposed lots, lot 1 will be zone suburban residential. It'll be 1.3 acres approximately. Floodway will be located on the property. There will be one single-family residence on the property with the 25 by 24 detached garage. Lot 2 will be zoned suburban residential district. It'll be 4.5 acres approximately. Floodway is also located on this property. And this has a single-family residence with a detached garage and the 18 by 18 garage / guest cottage. It was sent for routed out for comments. The county highway department said the existing approach must be used for access to Forest Road, and then access easement will need to be dedicated on the plat for access to Lot 2. Staff has had conversations with the applicant, who is aware of this request. The current zoning of the property is suburban residential, which requires a 20,000 square foot lot size. Rezone will not be required for the request. The land uses in the area are single-family residence with lot sizes ranging from 0.4 acres to 5 acres. The guest cottage, talking with Department of Equalization, has no electricity or plumbing, and they would be willing to, if they went inside the building, to change that over to a tool shed / garage. And for the purposes of this layout plan, staff finds no significant issues with the applicant's request, and it appears to be in harmony with existing lots and current land uses in the area. So staff is recommending approval of LPL 20-40 with 15 conditions.
Cody?
Comments?
I've got one.
Move to,
Charlie?
go ahead. Move to approve.
Second.
We have a question.
I just phoned them today. If you look at the last page on the rapid map and what it's showing me, it says 1.3 acres and an access easement. That's for lot 1. And if you look at lot 2, 4. I don't want to say this, but it doesn't look the right proportion, even close. You can't, how are you going to get 4.5 acres out of those other 3 that are drawn in there, and then only 1.3 out of the big red? The whole thing, I don't know what I'm approving. I looked at that before, and I couldn't figure out where the new lot line they're looking at putting them. Follow me? I assume they're dropping some of the triangular one and putting it into the other one, but
So what they're doing is there's these 4 lots along Highway 44.
okay.
They're incorporating that into those 2 other lots. So the lot line will be approximately right here.
Oh,
And
all right. So it
this
includes
triang-
the 360, 550, 500 or whatever?
Correct.
Okay.
So lot 2 will have these 3 frontage lots currently as they sit, along with
Sufficiently
portion of
answered.
this-
Thank you. I'm saying this was so dark. The one I've got, you can't even see that. There isn't any blue.
Yeah.
It looked like there was 3 little lots, and that's totally disproportionate. So I understand now.
Anything else? Motion?
We move for approval.
Second.
Ron and Sandy already.
Yeah,
I was
we
gonna say,
we had
I thought it had already
done
been that done, but I was like,
I didn't think that we got that in because we had a comment, so.
They made a motion
Oh.
and then you guys started discussing it.
yeah. That's what I thought happened, but I was like, okay, maybe I missed something then.
Let's give credit where credit's due here. Okay. All those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Number 14, the county board report.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, the County Board report. The Board of Commissioners concurred with the Planning Commission's recommendations from the November 23rd, 2020 Planning Commission meeting.
You walked all the way for that now.
I did,
Okay. All
but
right.
I have another item. So.
Thank you. All right. Let's see what, public, any items from the public? Nobody here?
Gentleman in the back?
We know he's not part of the public, no. Staff, any?
Yes, I just have the building permit report, and then I have a couple other things to add. If you look at the building permit report, we are on track for last year. I think it looks a little skewed because we did have those 75 building permits last year for those transient shelters. That was for that glamping facility up near Keystone. So that kind of makes it look like the number of permits are a lot lower than probably what they would normally be. But I would say, all things considered, we're pretty close to being on track with last year. Then I do have a couple things to note. Staff and the state's attorney's office has been working pretty diligently on some ordinance amendments. So you will see those at the December 21st Planning Commission meeting. They went out for publication. They will be posted online for the public to review. We will try to get those to you also.
I'm sorry, what were they?
There's ordinance amendments.
Oh, okay, thank you.
There's several of them that will be on the agenda for the 21st. We did conduct interviews for building inspector position, so that was done last week. So that process is moving forward. So just a heads up for the Planning Commission. And then we did open up another requisition. Stephanie is leaving our office, so her last day will be next Friday, the 18th.
So Brittany, would you have a few minutes after this meeting so I can sit down with you and Cullen?
Yes.
Thank you.
So is there any?
Question, have you already got applicants for my position? Somebody just texted me a little while ago asking if it was still open, so I'm just asking that question because we're talking about it.
It is not, it is closed that I'm aware of. They do have to go in front of the Board of Commissioners at this time for, I believe, an interview, so.
Yeah, it was Wednesday, I believe, at 4 o'clock was the deadline date.
Anything else?
I have one thing. Brittany, you know, a few meetings ago, there was something in our packet, I believe, about the discussions of creating a group or a committee to look at roads, highway, transportation, whatever. What's the status of that?
So the Board of Commissioners did give us the approval to move forward. We are going to move forward with that probably after the first of the year, just with some changes in staff in the office and with the holidays. So starting at the beginning of the year, we're going to work with highway and move forward with that.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Items from the membership? None? A motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second? All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Nobody's opposed.